How to do reversible distressing for star patch shadows for the Diary of Anne Frank. In our production, we wanted to go and have the stars that are on the costumes of most of the players at the beginning of the play have shadows that look as though they were there for a long time and have been left a mark on the clothing. However, we didn't want to go and keep marks on the clothing after the run of the show. So this is how we could go and make the design of a star in what looks like a bit of a stain or a shadow in a way that was reversible. Here you see a thin fabric where it has actually had a little bit of stitching done around the edge of where the star was that is pulled tight so that it gives it a little bit of a rippled edge. This is done just with a basting stitch, pulled a little bit too tight to go and make that. We then go and spray the star area with a layer of hairspray, and then carefully brush on powdered pigments, not out of standard makeup pigments, but out of things like cinnamon and chocolate powder and baby powder, all of which are things that are a little bit easier to get out in the wash and or by a dry cleaner if you tell them that it's there. You spray more hairspray over the top of each different star to go and make it fix in a little bit longer. Baste the stars on over this so that when they come in at the beginning of the play, they have the stars on, and then in the scene where Anne and Peter are cutting off the stars, it's easy for them to cut it off and remove them. And it's also easy off stage to remove them and then leave this sort of shadow of where the star was on all their clothing. Each of them was done in different colors depending on the particular kind of fabric. For thick fabrics, you don't use the gathering stitches, it doesn't really show on them. And we used little bits of chocolate powder, baby powder, and cinnamon mainly as different ways of going and marking the edges. Now this lasted about one weekend run. In each case they needed touch-ups so that they would still show. And at the end of the run we could go and run them through the washer after pulling out any stitching, and when we'd pull out the stitching, we'd then go for washables and take cheap dollar store spray and wash and spray it on very thoroughly wherever the mark was, and then go at it with a toothbrush, as you can see here, in order to go and get the little bits of the powdered pigment out of the area. Did as much as one could with a toothbrush and the spray wash, and then would go and put them in the washer on my cycle, which is an extended cycle of cold water that goes and makes it easier to get stuff to go out without going and damaging the fiber. So we had these rather good looking stars that were visible from our stage as this sort of shadow thing of where something had come off, but that we didn't make it as a permanent damage to the costumes. And this seems like something somebody else might like to do, so we made a video.